Starting your day off with a take on Vegas you won't get anywhere else.
Hi, I'm Holly Madison, and I listen to Brian Shapiro.
Hi, this is William Shatner, and I listen to Brian Shapiro.
Hey, this is Larry the Cable Guy, and I listen to Brian Shapiro. Why? Because I'm a good American. So is he. And if you don't listen to him, you need to pack up and leave this country.
This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
Come on, guys!
What's up, Vegas? It is Friday. It is Vegas Take Time. Sharp and Shapiro, so glad you could join us. Hope everyone's had a great week. I am certainly looking forward to the weekend myself. Tomorrow, the WNBA All-Star Game going on. Going to play a little golf on Sunday, so it's going to be a nice, leisurely, fun weekend for myself. A lot to get to today. Nobody cares about what I'm doing this weekend. I don't even know why I brought that up. But coming up in hour number 2, Dr. Alex Moreno. She is a award-winning Washington, D.C. Latina radio host and psychologist. I certainly need one of them, that's for sure. Maybe I could ask her some questions off the air, or maybe on the air. But she'll be joining us in studio Friday, or I should say today. Today is Friday. It's been a long week, but that'll be a lot of fun. She'll be joining us in hour number 2. Oh, boy, what a busy news day it has been. Let me start out, for you Trump supporters, with some positive news. At least I'm sure you will see it as positive news. The Supreme Court today clearing the way for the Trump administration to use $2.5 billion from the Department of Defense to construct parts of a wall along the southwestern border that the government argues is necessary to protect national security. With that being said, Mexico is not paying for the wall. That is what Donald Trump campaigned on. Folks, it's just not happening. Mexico is not paying for this. I just said where the money is coming from. And my biggest issue with this thing is the majority of illegals that are in this country are ones that overstay their visas. Why are they not taking a couple $1 billion to address that issue? You'll never hear Donald Trump talking about that. And members of the U.S. military spending roughly a month painting a mile-long border wall here. Now, why is this an issue? Well, I agree with Senator Dick Durbin, who confirmed this plan and said it's a disgraceful misuse of taxpayer money. He said our military has more important work to do than making Trump's wall beautiful. I tend to agree with that. I don't care what the wall looks like. You shouldn't care either. And I don't think members of the U.S. military should be working like carpenters or whatever, painting the wall for a month. I do agree with Senator Dick Durbin on that. But again, the good news is that, yes, $2.5 billion for you Trump supporters out there. $2.5 billion from the Department of Defense to construct parts of this wall along the southwestern border. Again, I don't necessarily agree with it. I certainly don't agree with the fact that they're not putting any of this money towards illegals that overstay their visas. I don't like the way some of these illegals have been treated at the border. We can go on and on and on about that. I am not for it. Plus, what do you guys think about this? This comes on a day that New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio continuing his attacks on President Trump. He's calling for a debate between the two and indicating that Trump's home city will not welcome him back after he leaves the White House. Okay, so I think he's going a little bit over the line here. Look, I, for one, am not a Trump supporter. I think the man is a disgrace. I just think he's a really bad guy. Really bad guy. With that being said, I don't have a problem with him going to New York, and I think Bill de Blasio, the New York City mayor, is making a mistake here. De Blasio said when his presidency is over, really soon, he will not be welcome back in New York City. He also argued that Trump, a Queens native, who's built his real estate empire in the Big Apple, didn't understand the city. I'm not quite sure where he's coming from there. I just don't. He also went on to say on Twitter that crime's gone down year after year in New York City, and it's not just because you finally left town. He said when you disrespected our NYPD officers, you disrespect all New Yorkers. We don't tolerate that in our city. He just went on and on and on about this. What do you make of that, JD? This is a former New York City mayor. Or I should say, I'm sorry, current New York City mayor. Not former. I was thinking of Rudy Giuliani there for a second. This is the current New York City mayor saying that Donald Trump is not welcome back in New York.
Well, I mean, it's completely unreasonable to make a statement like that. But I've talked to a lot of people here in Vegas and really from all over the country from New York, and they said that they're kind of tired of Donald Trump's BS. So I don't necessarily think that he's wrong, but it's not going to be that over the top. I do think there's a lot of people in New York that do resent Donald Trump for what he's doing right now and what he's done, and the things he was involved in the last 30 or 40 years, business-wise.
I've lived in Las Vegas for almost 20 years. If Donald Trump wants to come to Las Vegas, I'm not going to tell him he can't. I just think that's absurd, and I can't believe I'm defending Trump on this one, but I do from time to time, and I think Bill de Blasio is wrong.
And I do think that a lot of people from New York are just kind of jealous of Donald Trump and how much success he's had over the course of his life.
See, I disagree with that.
Because he's been in the spotlight since he was, 22, 23 years old? I mean, literally in the spotlight.
Listen. Before he became president, I don't think there were that many people out there that felt that way. I think since he's become president, he has said a lot of disgraceful things, arguably a lot of racist things, a lot of hateful things. He's divided the country.
Before he became president, he was involved in so many different enterprises. He had the casino in Atlantic City. He tried to buy the Buffalo Bills. He tried to buy AFL teams. He tried to buy Major League Baseball teams. He boxed. He threw fights with Don King, boxing promoter. He was involved in, and then obviously all of his real estate ventures. He was involved in so many different enterprises, and he touched so many different people that I do think there was a lot that this. I mean, and you've seen interviews with him 20, 30 years ago and the things that he says. I think that he's had a lot of people have had disdain for him for a number of reasons, but one of those reasons is jealousy, I believe.
Well, I think a lot of it is anger for the way he treats others. And I know everyone wants to say, well, the liberal media, it's the media, they're the enemy of the people, as Donald Trump and some of his supporters would say. But, again, the tweets that he did last week, to me, that's Donald Trump. He doesn't think before he speaks. He doesn't think before he goes on Twitter. He says a lot of ridiculous things. He says a lot of hateful things. He is dividing this country. You can talk all you want about how the economy is doing fantastic and black unemployment is down.
Well, and the thing about talking, when you talk about the economy doing so well and black unemployment, it's not even talking, it's reality. It is. It's not just a conversation. It's not lip service.
Okay, so as a Trump supporter, let me ask you this question. What was black unemployment when he took office, and what is it at now? And what has he done? What has he implemented to help African Americans get jobs? So that's a three-part question. What was unemployment when he took office? What is it now? And what has he done to help African Americans and help unemployment? It's a three-part question.
I mean, do you know the answer?
Yes.
You know the answer to all three of the questions?
Yes.
Okay, I don't know the answer to all three of the questions.
So, first of all, 4.75% when he took office, which was extremely low. Now, it is close to 4% now. He has not done anything. He has not put any policies in place. He sits there like a moron.
He's made it a lot easier for small businesses to operate and get money from banks.
I'll tell you what he's done.
Which is huge for employment.
I'll tell you the big thing that he's done, if we're going to talk about the economy, he's helped his rich friends. Do you remember the recall?
His rich friends tend to employ a lot of different people regardless of race.
And you know what? That's why there are so many people with 2 or 3 jobs right now, because the rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer. I just gave you those black unemployment numbers, okay? First of all, Trump hasn't even lowered it more than 1%. Now, I'm glad it's been lowered, but say what you want about Barack Obama, and I am not going to defend him when it comes to race relations and all that other stuff. I thought he was an average president at best, Barack Obama. With that being said, black unemployment was way down, under 5% when he took office. So what Donald Trump wants to do...
And welfare was through the roof. There was almost, I think, 50 million people in the United States. That's almost 1/6 of the country that were on welfare at that time.
I understand, but what Donald Trump wants to do is he wants to take credit for everything, which is absurd. We'll take some phone calls, 702-257-5396. Again, the number, 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Oh, yeah, by the way, remember when we talked about that Covington Catholic High School student, Nicholas Sandman? Remember when I told you this lawsuit against the media was absurd? It was ridiculous. Yes, they had some death threats, which is serious, for about a week or so, and then the story went away, and the real stories came out, and we saw what happened, even though I do not think that Sandman from Covington Catholic High, I don't think he tried to de-escalate that situation at all. But then they get this lawyer and they file a $250 million lawsuit against the Washington Post. I said it was absurd. I said it was ridiculous. I said it would most likely be thrown out in court, and we had all these people call in that said I was wrong. Well, guess what happened today, folks? Guess what happened today? A federal judge in Kentucky has thrown out the defamation lawsuit that was filed against the Washington Post by none other than Covington Catholic High School student Nicholas Sandman and his family over the paper's reporting of that incident between the young man and a Native American man this past January in Washington. That's right. A judge threw it out because it was absurd. That's why. It was ridiculous. The lawsuit was filed in February asking for $250 million in damages and accused the Post of practicing a modern-day form of McCarthyism. Well, I guess you could say the same thing about Fox News and the way they treated Barack Obama for 8 years. I didn't see Obama file any lawsuits against Fox News. It's the same stuff we're talking about here, folks. It's the absolute same stuff. I'm telling you, this guy Sandman's not going to make any money. This kid who had that stupid little smirk on his face. And again, I'm not going to defend the Native American because he incited as well. And then the Hebrew Israelites who we've talked about, they're the ones who really got this going. Nicholas Sandman and his family deserve nothing as far as I'm concerned. Nothing. Zero. We know what happened, unless you are biased. You know exactly what happened here. The Hebrew Israelites were saying some horrible things, some violent things, even though nothing physically happened. And then you have this Native American who was there, who was a known liar. And then you have all these kids from Covington that were all wearing the MAGA hats. They're allowed to do that. I'm not saying they broke any rules or anything, but it certainly didn't help the situation any either. And then you have this kid, Sandman, who's got this stupid smirk on his face. And if you watch the video, that's exactly what it was. He could have backed up a few feet. He didn't. He stood there with this dumb little smirk on his face. And then he does an interview a few days later saying, well, I was trying to de-escalate the situation. No, you weren't. No, you weren't. When there's something going on in society, wherever, whatever the case may be, it could be a bar fight, it could be an argument, it could be anything. Let's just say you're having an argument with your girlfriend or your wife or whatever. And she's having an argument with you, and you stand there a foot away from her face with a smirk on your face. Is that de-escalating the situation? You tell me. Is that de-escalation? No, it's not. And you're going to sue for $250 million? Why? Look, I understand that the family received some death threats. It wasn't from the media. It certainly wasn't from the media. Might have been from a couple Looney Tunes out there, probably on the left. You want to sue them? Go ahead and sue them. If you send a death threat, you should go to jail. I don't have a problem with that. But nobody in the media was sending this kid death threats. Now, you could say to yourself, well, you know, the reporting wasn't accurate. Perhaps that happens all the time. It happens all the time in journalism where people don't always get it right. $250 million lawsuit. Absurd. Absolutely ridiculous. How many times does the president lie on a regular basis? Are we all going to sue the president? How many times? So every time somebody lies or every time somebody doesn't get the story perhaps factually accurate, we're going to sue them for $250 million. It is ridiculous. Again, we're taking your phone calls at 702-257-5396. Again, that number to call, 257-5396. Let's start off with Jeff. Jeff, what's going on?
Hey, Brian.
What's up, Jeff? I'm doing good. Jeff, what's on your mind, my man?
I have a question. The judge that threw it out, do you know who he was appointed by?
Have no idea. No idea.
And do you know if there's any plans to appeal that or not? Or?
Oh, I'm sure, Jeff, that there's a plan to appeal it. I mean, that would not surprise me at all.
Yeah, because it's not completely unreasonable for them to seek compensation, punitive damages, if you will, in the 1.5 or $500K to $2 million range, but $250 million is completely unreasonable.
Well, let me ask you this, Jeff, because this is the question I ask myself. What exactly are the damages here? The kid is still going to school there. He still has his friends. He still has support. What are the damages? I mean, his idiot attorney, okay, goes on national television, says this is going to be with him for the rest of his life and his kid's life and his grandkid's life. That is absurd. It's one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard in my life. You know, we've got people in Las Vegas. Hold on a second. We've got people in Las Vegas. I know of people who have lost limbs in car accidents when it wasn't their fault, and they're lucky if they even get a couple $1,000s. And this kid wants $250 million for what?
No, that's too much. But let's say in 2024, let's say 2024 to 2032, the Democratic Party runs the country, and they all remember who this kid is, and he is blackballed from a number of jobs, a number of opportunities that he has. You don't know that for a fact.
That's ridiculous.
This was a very, very big deal. Not to mention with the death threats that his family received.
Story's gone away. That's not going to happen. I disagree.
People called his mom's work.
That's ridiculous. That's not going to happen.
That has monetary value.
Go ahead, Jeff.
I was just going to say, my opinion on this is that the media was very irresponsible in the way they covered it. I know that sometimes they get things wrong and stuff, but this, I mean, with even a little background investigation, they could have figured out that things weren't as they seemed. But it didn't seem like that was, I mean, I guess the media is all too often irresponsible and doesn't do even.
Did we lose you, Jeff?
Sorry.
Go ahead. Yep.
I don't know. Yeah, so.
Well, here's my take. Here, listen, I don't, Jeff.
Either, but
Jeff,
there should be something to hold the media accountable. That's all.
I don't necessarily agree with you, and I think that happens on both sides. And yes, you want reporters, you want journalists to do their due diligence. But as the story, and by the way, we didn't do that on this show, and I wasn't commenting on exactly what happened until more information came out, for the record. But so I don't think everybody got it wrong. But in regards to this issue, this kid has a smirk on his face. And look, we know that Native American is a liar and he's an activist. We know all that. But that kid, instead of taking a couple steps back, said he was de-escalating the situation by standing his ground a foot away from this guy with a dumb smirk on your face. To any reasonable human being, politics aside, that is not de-escalating the situation.
If someone stands in front of you and smirks, are you going to attack them, Brian? It's a smirk. Come on.
I'll tell you what.
He didn't call him names.
That's not a good question.
He just stood there.
No, I'll give you a better.
He was 17 years old. These guys.
I mean, I think that he was standing with his classmates and they were waiting for a bus to pick them up, and that was where they were supposed to be waiting.
He wasn't just standing. That's not true.
Across the mall or something. I think you could make more of a case.
Listen, but that's not true. Jeff, but that's not necessarily true. His classmates were about 10, 15 feet behind him watching the show as he had a smile on his face. And what JD just asked me is, the real question is, if somebody is screaming at you or yelling at you or being a agitator, would I stand there with a smirk on my face a foot away from them, or would I back up a couple feet and try to de-escalate the situation? I would back up a couple feet.
I actually think that you would scream back.
No, I wouldn't. Not in that situation. No, I wouldn't.
Okay.
I would not. You're wrong. Jeff, I appreciate the phone call.
If some guy's smirking at you, if some person's body language is enough for you to freak out, then you are way too thin-skinned in the first place.
But that's not the argument that I'm making.
And these black Hebrew Israelites were turning a national park, a public park, into their turf, if you will,
That's
Brian.
not the argument that I'm making. You're totally misrepresenting what I'm saying. What I'm telling you is that this Native American was beating the drum and not necessarily doing anything wrong. And this kid wearing his MAGA hat was a foot away from his face, smirking. That's not de-escalating. He said in an interview that he was trying to de-escalate the situation. There is a reason why this judge threw this out.
So
because it's BS.
You're calling a 17-year-old kid in a precarious situation a liar then. That's what your point is.
I'm telling you that I believe his attorney and his family probably told him to say that, and they're the idiots and they're the liars. That's exactly what I'm saying. 257-5396, 702-257-5396. And I'm going to tell you something else. If I'm 17 years old, I'm not standing in this guy's face with a smirk on my face and then saying on national television, all I tried to do was de-escalate the situation. That is a blatant lie, and that is why this family is not going to make any money, and I hope they don't. Again, 257-5396, the number to call. Let's go to Mike. Mike, what's going on?
Good evening, Brian and JD. A couple of things here. First, the kid was there first protesting abortion, and that guy was paid to come up and be in his face. And the kid was pretty tough because the guy probably stunk to high heaven. The guy was definitely on his lips.
Okay, I don't know. So how do you know that he stunk to high heaven?
He was drunk.
Okay, I didn't read that he was drunk. I don't know where you got that from. I'm not going to defend.
Well, he's a notorious alcoholic and drunk, and he's been caught many times.
Okay.
As a paid protester, take him with a grain of salt.
Okay, but you're making You're making an assumption, though. I mean, isn't this what this?
No, I've read this. It's a fact.
Okay, I haven't seen that he was drunk, but let's just say you're right for argumentative sake. Let's say you're right that he was drunk and he was paid to be there. If you had a kid that was there, would you tell that kid to stand a foot away from him with a smirk on your face?
No, number one, I don't believe on putting children on the street, on the curb and gutter. No way, brother.
I agree.
And here's another thing. I'm real quick on New York. I would tell De Blasio, thank you, please. I wouldn't go with the New York if you gave me a penny.
Well, I mean, I will say, listen, New York. I've spent a lot of time in New York. I have family there. It's a great city to visit. I wouldn't want to live there. You know why, Mike? Because it's way too stressful. People are too rude for me. That's why I wouldn't want to.
Well, I'm telling you, you guys are in heaven right there in Las Vegas. I really love Las Vegas. I think it's a beautiful state.
I
and
agree.
It's actually good for your skin. But anyway, hey, Brian and
Yes, sir.
JD, I'm sure they're going to appeal it all the way to the Supreme
absolutely.
Court.
I don't disagree,
And
Mike.
contrary to popular belief, this is going to be even more in the spotlight now.
Mike, I don't really disagree with anything you said, and I appreciate the
That's
phone
all
call.
I got to say, though.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike, for the call. We appreciate that. Again, that number to call is 257-5396. I believe our next caller is Doug. Doug, what's going on?
Hi, Brian. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
First of all, the Indian guy with the drum, he just walked right up to and started pounding the drum in the kid's face. And the kid was just standing there. I agree he had a smirk on his face, but he didn't really do anything. And then my other point would be...
Okay, but can I just stop you right there? Doug.
That case and Barack Obama's a public figure.
Okay,
and the rules are different for public figures.
Okay, but we'll get to that. Let me talk about your first point first. The kid claimed that he tried to de-escalate the situation. Can we agree that he was not de-escalating anything?
He just stood there.
He stood there with a smirk on his face. That's not trying to de-escalate the situation. De-escalating the situation would have been backing up a couple feet. De-escalating the situation would have been telling all those kids, hey, we're waiting for a bus. Let's move down 100 yards so there's no problems. You don't know if some of these people have guns or knives.
Accept that.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. And Doug, listen, I'm not defending this Native American. Those Hebrew Israelites are scumbags. They're the ones who started this thing. But I'm attacking his family. You're damn right I'm going to do that. And this attorney for asking for $250 million, lying.
Well, that may be a bit excessive, but I don't blame him for bringing a lawsuit. The kid got all kinds of death threats, and his life may be changed permanently because of this.
I don't agree with that.
Because of the media, the way they portrayed it.
I don't necessarily agree with the fact that for the rest of his life he's going to have to. I think it's done.
And
What's done is done.
I'd love to see the media have to lose one of these lawsuits, lose one of these slander or libel lawsuits, because they do a good job, between them and Google, they do a good job of ruining people's lives every single day.
257-5396 is the number to call. We'll take another call. Let's go to, I believe Marge is next. Marge, what's going on?
Happy Friday.
Thank you. Happy Friday, Marge. What do you think about this?
Well, first of all, the judge, I just looked it up, he was appointed by Jimmy Carter.
Yep.
So he's been around for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, the other thing is that the family also sued CNN and NBC for $750 million.
It's absurd.
And that's still, yeah, absolutely, and that's still pending.
Yeah.
But the other thing is that we talked about this before. You know, these kids were not alone. There were chaperones around.
Exactly.
Chaperones stepped in.
Good point.
You know, right at that moment.
Yep. I agree.
And I don't know why that didn't happen. That makes no sense to me at all.
Marge, you are absolutely right, and you will recall the week of this story coming out, that is exactly what I said. I made the point of, where are the chaperones? Marge, it's always good to hear from you. Have a great weekend. Okay, thank you so much. 257-5396. Let's go to Kevin. Kevin, you're next on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Yeah, I just want to get some facts straight because, you know, I was listening last time. Actually, the first time that you were talking about this, and basically this kid, he didn't approach the Native American.
I never said that.
Approached him. He actually crossed a block.
I understand.
Right to him.
I never said the kid approached him.
Teenager to do something, and you know, you kind of blame the teenager that he should have done something about it other than...
No, that's not what I said. You're misrepresenting what I said. First of all, I never said the kid approached him. I never said that.
What is he supposed to do?
I will answer your question. I will answer. I will gladly...
He's not going to do anything.
I will gladly answer your question. Number one, back up a couple feet, okay? First of all, these Hebrew Israelites...
How do you know that he wasn't afraid that there's... something going on, because
he looked really afraid with that
older person, and he didn't know what to do.
So you think he looked afraid by having that smirk on his face? And first of all, when you're afraid, don't you want to step back a couple feet?
In different ways.
Okay, now I'm sorry. With all due respect, Kevin, I disagree.
Attack him. I don't know.
Well, Kevin, with all due respect, I disagree. When somebody is afraid, you don't just stand there with a smirk on your face and watch your classmates behind you laughing, because that's exactly what was going on. If he was truly scared for his life or in danger,
it doesn't matter.
And what about the chaperones? What about the chaperones? If they thought that anyone's... What about the chaperones? If the chaperones thought that their lives were in danger, don't you think the chaperones would have done something about it?
Who is the provoker?
You're not answering my questions, with all due respect. I never said that he provoked, but he certainly didn't de-escalate.
With hindsight and everyone being so intelligent, maybe there was some other way to handle it. But the thing is, they did it the way they did it at that point in time because they had no idea what they were going to do. And they weren't they weren't the provokers. They weren't initiating anything.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't in somebody else's space.
Mm-hmm.
It's the other way around.
So Kevin, so you think that a $250 million fibulous lawsuit, you're okay with that?
Well, the thing is, I don't know what the dollar amount should be, but I think the media should be held accountable for how they misrepresented the facts in this case.
Okay, so let me ask you this then. Let me ask.
That's what makes me mad the most.
Yeah.
Is that everybody has misrepresented the facts.
Okay, so let me ask you a question, Kevin. When 5 years Donald Trump said that Barack Obama was not born in this country and went on a media tour, do you believe that he should have been sued for that, misrepresenting?
I don't know why you're changing the subject.
No, I'm not changing the subject because you're talking about misrepresenting the facts. When Donald Trump, who is a public figure, goes after our president for 5 years, I'm talking to you about the media as well.
Who professionally misrepresent facts.
So you don't want to talk about our president misrepresenting facts. That's okay with you, but when it comes to this specific circumstance, now you want to go after it. I ask you that question for a reason. Donald Trump, we got to go to break. Donald Trump for 5 years said that Barack Obama wasn't born in this country. He said he knew that for sure.
He made a statement. He didn't have a publication to promote it. That's the difference.
I understand that, but he went all over the media, TV and radio, talking about it. That's why I asked him that question. We'll take a quick break. More of your calls when we come back. You're listening to The Vegas Take.